Hello friends, Flavio here. What a joy it has been to get all the questions that you guys have been asking about Life Mastery Academy. You probably have seen the emails, the messages, the description on the internet of what this is all about, and I just wanted to take a moment to explain a little bit better what it is that we're going to be doing at Life Mastery Academy. So there are 4 different levels to the program, and of course, the first level is the different online programs that we have, a whole bunch of different online courses. You're all familiar with that because you've seen the different courses. Many of you have taken the different courses that we offer. That's level 1. Level 2 is a one-day event in which we cover several areas of life, and I wanted to explain this to you. And then I'll talk later about level 3 and level 4. And these are things that we have been doing for a long time, and we have seen the effect that it has generated in people's lives. It's interesting because, you know, when I talk to people who have been through, who have been here and have been working with us for a while, and I see them sometimes somewhere in town, or I talk to them, or sometimes just the other day somebody messaged me on Facebook and said, I appreciate what you have done because it has changed my life. And this type of feedback we get all the time. Perhaps, you're in a situation in your life where you are ready for a transformation. Perhaps you have lived certain experiences in your life where you're beginning to ask yourself some questions. What is this all about? What is the meaning of all of this? And it's a little bit scary because we have built a notion of reality based on what we have been told, and we have invested in that notion throughout our lives. And we're now, sometimes a person gets to a certain age and they begin to question what they've been told, but it becomes scary to change. Number one, because we don't know what's next. We don't know what's on the other side of this change, and I'm going to be talking more about that. Number two, it's a little scary because what if I don't have enough time? In other words, as we begin to age, right, we begin to wonder, what if I don't have enough time to make the change? And of course, I've had to go through all of this myself. I think that what allows me to be here today in front of you is the fact that not only have I helped a few thousand people go through this transition, this transformation, but also I've had to do the same thing myself, because we're no different. You and I are the same. And so because I've been there and done that, I can help you do the same. And I'm going to be explaining this in more detail to you. But so Life Mastery Academy is about exactly what the name says, mastering life. I've heard this idea so many times. People say, oh, life doesn't come with a manual. This is as close to a manual as it gets. And it isn't me or the program. The manual is actually inside of you. That's what's really awesome about Life Mastery Academy. We master life by actually reading the manual, which is preloaded into each one of us. And this is what's so awesome about it. So the way we do Life Mastery Academy, like I said, level 2, one-day event, and we're going to touch these different areas of life. Let me just tell you what we're going to touch on, and then I'll tell you how we're going to improve your life and create this transformation through the program. But check out the areas. So we start off with the idea of duality, the notion that we are both a physical being and a spiritual being. And although that seems obvious to all of you listening to this type of thing, we have to delve into that a little bit more and define what we mean by the good life. In other words, we have to extract some meaning out of this idea of duality, and from that meaning get to what we call a good life. A good life is a term that has been used by the same philosophers, by philosophers who have been in the same line of thinking that I come from for over 3,000 years. This is a term that they use, the good life. It's a code. If you're part of this tradition, you would recognize that term. So we say the good life with capital G and capital L, and there's a very specific definition of what that means. And the people who have discovered the good life, they are transformed, and they have essentially what amounts to eternal life. Now, I know I'm getting ahead of myself here. Some other people who are not exactly privy to this information, or who haven't entered this path of understanding, sometimes they would hear the term good life and they think a good life is, oh, I have a bigger car or a better house, or they think of it in terms of the material world. There's nothing wrong with the material world. In fact, that's one of the things that we're going to master, mastering the material world, because a master of his being is also a master of his world. We're going to cover that. But the good life has a very different meaning, which we're going to explore in detail. Then we're going to talk about health, energy, healing, and life extension. Very, very important for a person who's on a path to a good life, because we need to buy ourselves time. We need to extend our physical lives, and we do that by employing technologies that have been around for thousands of years. Just think of the Egyptians and think of the, these magicians of the past. They've been able to achieve absolutely amazing things. And we are going to share some of the same technology with you and what you can do to increase your health, vitality, energy, and longevity using these techniques. Wealth, prosperity, the whole issue of getting out of debts, why that's so important, and most importantly, productivity and service, because wealth is the flip side of productivity and service. And so we're going to actually get into this idea of service, what that really means, and how to make this service pay off wealth-wise in the physical world. So this is a very big one: vocation, your mission in life, talents, and troubles that we bring to that area of our lives that actually oppose the manifestation of our talents and dreams. In other words, we all come to this world with a song to sing, sort of, but we sort of lose our voice along the way. In other words, we develop these troubles, right, that prevent us from actually singing our song. We're going to uncover what those troubles are and get ourselves to sing our song. We all have a song. I remember a lady came to one of these events years ago, and from the time she was a little girl, she wanted to sing. But her mom told her that singing was for girls who were, quote unquote, no good. Whatever that criteria, that idea is, that's what her mom told her. And this little girl grew up and couldn't sing because mom told me that that's for girls who are no good. I want to be a good girl, so I'm going to not sing. That was the message that she received. And at one of these events, she healed that idea and gave herself permission to sing. And I remember at the end of the event, she gave us a concert. And beyond the beautiful music and beyond the beautiful voice, it was such a special thing to all of us attending, because we knew right there that a new being had been born. We all felt it. We all, and the joy of seeing this woman come out of herself, basically, and essentially a new being has just occurred, has just been born, a whole new person. That woman went on. I've kept up with her. She has transformed her lives in so many ways because there was one thing holding her back, and she was able to get to it. So we're going to talk about love, relationships, and what the true purpose of all this whole thing called relationship is, which has to do with forgiveness and the expansion of the heart and what true love is, and all of this. Very, very important part of the whole thing, because we are spiritual beings on a quest towards our own divinity. And through this mirror, through this concept of relationships, is where we find our true divinity. People in the world have a misunderstanding about the purpose of relationships, and they think that we have to find the right relationship on the outside, and that's the person who pleases me. And I understand that idea. I also think it's pleasant if I have somebody in my life who's always encouraged, like a cheerleader, basically. I understand that idea, but that's not what the purpose is, and that's not what ever happens. That's not what ever happens. People fall in love and they feel so good, but that's always a short duration thing. The true purpose of the relationship is to get to know, with a capital K, we're going to be talking about this in the seminar, to actually know one another. But to know one another, you have to go deep into their soul, and you have to see both what their joys are and what their pains are, because we come to this world with both. And when you know somebody, you know both of those sides. And then you have a unique divine opportunity in that person's life, which is to see the pain and forgive them. And you say, what do you mean forgive them? What we're going to be talking about is what that means. And when you do that, at that instant, you become a god. You see, we evolve spiritually, not because we found the perfect person, but because we found a real human being, and we're able to look at the person in the eye and say, I see the totality of who you are. That's what love is. And I'm still here, and I'm still willing to forgive you, and I'm still willing to continue this journey with you. That's, so there's more to love than what meets the eye and more than what the movies show, and we're going to be discussing all of that. And finally, we're going to be talking about the meaning of life, happiness, and what true spirituality is. We're going to be talking about religiosity, but true spirituality, and most importantly, this elusive concept of happiness. We're going to discuss that from a perspective that is absolutely unique. Now, let me tell you how we do this. We don't just do this from the perspective of a lecture. It's not a seminar. I didn't say it's a lecture. I didn't say it's a seminar. It's not a class. We do have that. Been doing that for 30 years. You can come to any of my classes anytime you want. In the classes, I lecture, basically. That's not what this is. This is Life Mastery Academy. In the Academy, we come here to work. So there is an introduction to each one of the sections in which I present some ideas, but I don't present these ideas in the Academy from the perspective of me teaching you something. That's not the idea. The idea of me presenting an idea is simply so that I can prime your subconscious mind to what's coming. And once I prime the subconscious mind to what's coming, we're going to engage in a series of exercises that I've been doing for decades, and releasing people from their own pain and their own limitations. The series of exercises comprise some degree of talking, interaction, dialogue. I've been developing these techniques over the years. I do something called simultaneous therapy. I do all kinds of things that I've learned over the years. We're going to be using in Life Mastery Academy Live, which is level 2. And then we're going to use a special combination of meditation and hypnosis to get you into a state of mind where you're actually in touch with your own unconscious mind, where the changes actually take place. Now, this is very different from those seminars where you're placed in a state of high energy and high alertness, and then you're bombarded with suggestions, you see, from the outside in, and then people live there all pumped up, but there's no fundamental. You see, this seminar is for those of you who consider yourselves to be on a return path, return home. Those are for the people. Life Mastery Academy is for people who are healing their souls on their way back to their own spiritual divinity. And I'm going to explain more about that in subsequent videos. But it's about people who are ready to heal, ready to live a good life right here, right now. But right here, right now on the earth, they're finding heaven and realizing that we're here to live an eternal life right here. So these are the ideas that we're going to be exploring more. I want you to join me, because if you're listening to me this long, there's something about you that's leaning in, that wants this. There's something about you reminding yourself, you know what, that's what I've been looking for. Yes, you found it. Make sure that you join us for the next event. Make sure that you join us. Don't let it escape you, because the time is now. Now, one of the things about Life Mastery Academy is I don't want to sell you on an idea. I don't want to play tricks on you. I don't want to play with like scarcity. We're closing out the events. You're never going to see me again. I'm not going to play any of those tricks. That's called hacking. Those are tricks, salesman tricks. I don't do any of that. I haven't done that in years, my whole life. I've been doing this for several hundred years, believe me, and I have never used any of those tricks, and I'm not going to start using them now. I have a particular line that I follow. I've been following the same line for a long time, trust me, and it has always worked. And at the end of the day, when I put my head on the pillow, I feel my Father in heaven saying, "Good job, son." And that's what's important. And a good job is holding you by the hand and saying, "You're just as divine as I am. Come with me. I'm going to show you your own divinity." That's all I need to do. If this message is resonating with you, click the link, make the comments, sign up, let's meet, and you're going to have a great time. That's all I can tell you. I don't want to convince you of anything, but I do know that some of you listening to me right now are leaning in and are saying, you know what this guy is saying is beginning to make sense to me. If you're one of those people, don't miss this opportunity. But if your heart's telling you to, then come over and let's have a good time, all right? Peace be with you. Now remember something really important. There is magic in life, and we are just getting started. Thank you.